Hello and welcome to the Out of the Sandbox video guide to the Artisan Shopify theme homepage setup. Today we're going to take a look at the steps necessary to take your Artisan theme from a fresh install to a fully configured homepage that looks just like our Phoenix demo. And we're going to do this by going through all of the various built-in settings of the homepage sections so that you can configure your homepage just like that. We'll even cover the sections that aren't included in the Phoenix demo and take a look at our other demos, which would be the Barcelona demo that you see here and the Victoria demo that you see here. All of these layouts, all of these homepages that you see are achievable using the built-in settings and features of the Artisan theme, and we're going to take a look at how you can do that now. But before we jump into the actual theme settings, let's take a look at what we're already working with on the Shopify platform. So here I am on my admin panel, and as I jump in here to products, you'll see that I already have products on the Shopify platform. And these products already have titles and descriptions, variants, prices, all of the various attributes you would expect to see with a Shopify product. These products have been categorized into some collections that we will be using to populate our homepage, but I would assume that your Shopify shop also has a number of collections with products inside of them. Additionally, our online store already has some blog posts configured. These blog posts have content, they have featured images. We also have some menus here set up in our navigation settings that we'll use on our homepage. So all of those elements are on the Shopify platform. If you needed any assistance with adding products to the platform, categorizing those products into collections, or configuring blog posts or navigation, check out Shopify's documentation and check out Shopify's support resources for any assistance with that kind of stuff as that pertains to the platform. Whereas if you had any questions about the theme itself, hopefully we will answer those right now as we jump over here to the themes panel. And we see that we've got a live Artisan theme. But depending on how you purchase the theme, installing the theme would be a little bit different. If you've purchased the theme through outofthesandbox.com, you will have received an email with a download link where you can go ahead and then upload the zip file that comes in that download link to add the Artisan theme to your Shopify admin panel. Alternatively, if you purchase the Artisan theme through the Shopify theme store, the theme will appear on this panel here automatically, and you wouldn't have to go through the steps of uploading the zip file. So now with my fresh copy of Artisan added to my themes panel, I'm going to go ahead and publish it so that whenever I refresh my live site, I get to see all of the changes that I'm making here in the settings editor. And I can access that settings editor by heading right over here to this Customize button where we jump in to the Shopify settings editor. In this editor, as you see, we've got a big preview section here on the right with the settings here on the left separated into these two areas of settings, section settings and theme settings. So the theme settings generally apply to the whole theme, whereas the section settings will apply to the page that you're looking at presently in the editor, in this case, the home page. But before we jump into any of those header or section or footer settings, let's take a look at any of these theme settings that will apply to our homepage configuration. And before we look at any color or typography settings, let's take a look down here at this Change Theme Style option. And in here, we see a listing of the 3 demos that we've taken a look at. So what these theme styles are, these are bundles of typography and color settings that correspond with the demos that we've already configured. So if you're looking for a jumping off point to have your typography and colors configured to look just like one of our demos, you would want to start off by selecting one of the theme styles here. However, I'd advise that you select one of these theme styles before you get started with configuring any other settings, because selecting a theme style does indeed override some of your setting selections. So be sure to come in here first and select a theme style as a jumping off point before going in to edit any of your typography or color settings. So we will be using the Phoenix demo as a model for our demonstration here. Following along with the same sections and content that are in the Phoenix demo. And of course, let's go ahead and choose this Phoenix theme style to have our color and typography settings automatically change all at once to match that Phoenix demo. And we can see that reflected here in the preview right away. Then if we wanted to get more granular with our selections, we can jump in here. Here are all of our color settings, and this applies to the whole site. And here we have our typography settings, where you can select various font faces and font attributes for these different categories of text that appear throughout the site. So these will affect the home page along with all of the internal pages of your site. There are a few other areas of settings here that will apply to elements on the home page, but we'll take a look at those settings whenever we look at those elements specifically. But for now, let's flip back over to the sections area of settings here and start to configure our home page. So when configuring the home page of a new theme, I find that there's always this two-step process of first familiarizing myself with the sections and the various ways that they can be configured, and then following that up with designing a sequence of sections that I would like to use for my homepage to tell the story of my product or service. For our demonstration, we're going to be using the sequence of sections that we have on the Phoenix demo, and then we'll take a look at the other sections that aren't included in that demo. But of course, you can get creative when it comes to designing your own homepage and figure out the sequence of sections that you would like to use to tell the story of your service or of your product. So starting off with the top of the page, we'll take a look at the first common element of the site here, which applies to the whole site, not just the home page, that being the header. Right here at the top of the header, we've got this announcement bar is presently enabled. We have the option here of having this announcement bar only appear on the home page and not appear on any of the internal pages. This is where you would input the text for that announcement bar and then select the alignment of that text. You can have a link apply to the entire announcement bar that can go to any pages within your site or any external links. And here we have the text and background color settings for that announcement bar. There's no announcement bar in our Phoenix demo, so we'll disable that, but we do have one enabled in our Barcelona demo. This is what it looks like. Moving down from that announcement bar, we've got this top bar area, which is where we can display a phone number, an address using a rich text editor field. We've got the ability of enabling and disabling the search icon here, which opens up this search feature. And we've got the option of flipping the cart icon between a bag, a basket, or a cart. Scrolling down from the top bar settings, we have our logo settings. If we don't have a logo image implemented here, then we will have regular logo text appearing, which will have our store name. And this is where you can change the color of that text. But this is where we would go ahead and configure a logo image. And so I've got a logo here that I'm going to use for the home page, appearing just like that. We also have the option of implementing a mobile logo, which would show just when we are on the mobile layout here. So we can go ahead and select a different logo image if we would like for the mobile logo. Following the logo image settings, we have the ability of changing the width of the logo up to a maximum of 205 pixels here. Then we have the setting where we will select which menu we will use for our main menu. As you see here, we've got this sort of default menu appearing here now, and we've got the ability of changing the position of the menu from the left or right position, and then the alignment of the menu as well, as far as how it is aligned respective to the logo. To have a similar design in the header to the Phoenix demo, we're going to go ahead and set the menu position to the right and the alignment to the middle. Additionally, you'll see that there's this drop-down link appearing here. This is making use of Shopify's nested nav setup, which I can show you here. As we flip over to our navigation settings, you'll see that I'm in here configuring my main menu, and that as I nest these links underneath each other, they're all appearing here now in this three-tiered structure, where you've got your main menu, followed by a sub-menu link, and then that submenu link opens up another submenu here. Besides these settings that are specific to the header, we also have access to the theme settings that will apply to the header but also to the rest of the site. So here's access to the rest of those theme settings as well for the header. But now into configuring some of the sections for the homepage, starting with this top section, which is a slideshow. And keep in mind, the slideshow can be configured with a single slide if you'd like to have a banner instead. An image with text overlay or a banner section, that can be achieved here by just having a single slide in your slideshow. Some general settings for the slideshow, we've got the ability of having a constrained layout here or a wide display for the slideshow. A couple of transition options here, whether we decide to slide between slides or fade between slides, and then the overall speed of that transition. Then we get to our first area of shapes settings. Now, the slideshow that we're using here is going to be full width, so we won't be seeing the shapes in the background of this slideshow setting, but we will be seeing these shape settings here again shortly, and so we'll jump back and revisit what these shapes are all about here and how to configure them for the various homepage sections. Besides that, we get to the actual settings of each of the slides. So here are the settings. We've got an image, a mobile version of the image, some settings for the overlay, some settings for the text and links, and then some color settings. So let's go ahead and configure some of these settings and achieve a slideshow slide that looks just like one of the slides in our demo. So by configuring these settings quickly, I have configured an image, removed the overlay from this particular slide, changed some of the text settings to make it a simple, single stated heading, and then made sure to configure the slide link to go to our collection page. There's also the color settings here to configure this text color, but all of these settings are unique to each slide. So I can go ahead and jump into the next slide here and configure the overlay and the text colors. All of the attributes of the slide can be set up unique to that particular slide. So we'll go ahead and configure another one here. All right, then making similar changes to this slide, we have created another simple slide with a nice, plainly stated caption. Not a ton of additional design elements happening on this slide, but we find that that really works for the design of the Phoenix demo. But let's take a look at these slide examples from the other two demos so that you can see some of the other capabilities of this section. As you see, various combinations of settings resulting in these various designs for these slides. So back on our demo, we'll go ahead and remove this last slide here so that we just have the two slides happening in our slideshow and move on to our next section. So by default, the slideshow section happens to appear first. It happens to appear first in our Phoenix demo as well, but the rest of the sections that are configured here by default are a little bit out of order of the order that I have in mind for the demonstration here. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove all of the sections that are here and just start to reconfigure the sections in order, the same way that they're configured with the Phoenix demo. So that we have just the header, the slideshow, and then the footer here so far. Now to go ahead and configure the next section in our Phoenix demo here, we'll do that by adding an image with text section here. And we see how the default feature appears with these two images sort of appearing overlapping on each other, with this section of text here or with a border around it on the right. As we look over here to the settings, we have the ability of enabling and disabling two images, selecting the position for the images, left or right, and then selecting which image will appear in front with this for this overlapping design. Then into the text sections, we've got a larger heading, followed by a rich text editor here for a larger paragraph of text. You've got the ability of adding a link here as well to this section. The border can be enabled and disabled, and we have our area of shapes settings. So let's go ahead and configure this to look just like the first image with text section on our Phoenix demo. And in that example, there is only one image. We'll go ahead and select it. Then configure this text area here to look similar to our Phoenix demo by disabling the border for one, and then editing the text here. And as you see, any links within the text inputted into this rich text editor will still link out to whatever that destination is. And for the additional link that can appear in this section, this is what it looks like here once it's enabled with this styling here on the link. Great, let's go ahead and save that section and head into configuring our next image with text section. So the same type of section as the one that we just looked at, but it's configured a little bit differently with two images instead, and we will take advantage of this overlapping style here and see how we can leverage that with our own content. So here I'm selecting the two images that I want to use. And of course, be sure that one of those images is a PNG with a transparent background so that it works with that type of overlay. If you had two images that were rectangular that you wanted to overlay as well, that would work. But if you wanted to have this effect where it looks like one of the images is literally on top of the other with the background respected here, then be sure you're using a PNG image with a transparent background. So we'll go ahead and select that. To add a little bit of difference with the section above, we are going to flip the position of the image. Looking good. This is how the border could appear, but we'll disable the border on this one as well and go ahead and input our own text. Finally, for our images with text section here, we can configure some shapes. So in the Phoenix demo, we are using some squares. They are of a lovely green hue here that we'll quickly select and start to turn up the shapes. So we can enable them here, and as you see, as you add more shapes, they are appearing in the background. Take control of the size of the shapes here to make them bold or understated. And then the opacity of the shape color can be controlled here as well, if you'd like to have them sort of fade into the background or a little bit more noticeable with a bold appearance like this. Just going to make the shapes a bit bigger for this section. Looking good. And configure something similar for the section that came before it. We'll do squares again, a bit of a different green. And enable some shapes. So as you see, we can quickly add variety by changing the shapes between different sections, the number of shapes, the opacity. So very flexible way of adding this background design element to these various sections and have flexibility over each section independently. So I think that these images with text sections are looking pretty good. We'll make sure to, of course, save our progress. And here are a few examples of the images with text section from our other demos to show you how flexible this section is. Great. And following along with the sections in our Phoenix demo, the next section we're going to add here is a rich text section. You can see the placeholder content loading up there. We are going to replace this heading, and we're going to get rid of all of the text in the regular rich text editor field here. And we've got some options for text alignment, the size of the text. Then we could set up a background image for this rich text section here. Of course, we've got the ability to change the background color and the color of the text that we're working with here. Additionally, we see that this section is spanning the width of the page right now, but we could have it constrained to just the inner portion of the page like you see there with the margins to the left and right. similar to how it is in the Phoenix demo. Next in this demo, we have a featured collection. So we'll go ahead and add that. We see the placeholder stuff there, but let's go ahead and swap out this collection right away with this succulent wall planters collection. Go ahead and select that and see what some of our options are here. So we've got a pre-heading, we've got a heading. I'm going to remove those from the layout here. We can set up the products per row between 2 and 5. Let's leave that at 5 here, and then we can limit the number of products. Let's bring that right down to 5, so we just have the single row of products there. And we've got our shape setting. Some of the aspects of these thumbnails pertain to the product grid settings, which you can access by going to the theme settings here, scrolling down, and as you see, we've got the ability to align the height of these images and enable or disable showing the product information on hover. So if you're looking for ways to customize the thumbnail images that appear here, check out the product grid settings in the general theme settings. The next section that we'll take a look at here is the featured product. Here it is in the product area of the sections. And right here at the top, we've got our pre-heading and heading settings, which we will leave blank for now. And we'll pick out a product here, one of our favorites, that has a nice product image to be featured on the homepage. And there we have the product description being brought into that square on the right. But we'll go ahead and swap the image position here. So it's appearing the image on the right with the description on the left. And we've got some options here for the product gallery, which is the product image here. You can magnify the product image on hover. Got the ability of enabling the slideshow if there were multiple product images included with this product. And then the ability to change the transition style. Down here is where we can control what product information we're displaying here. So let's show the vendor above the product name. We have the ability of showing savings if we had a compare at price included with this product, but this product is just a regular price. And then we can enable and disable that product description. Let's get rid of the border here to follow along with the same styling as the other sections we've configured so far. Can swap out the position of the description with the add to cart form. And we've got the ability to show the new dynamic payment buttons there as well. Of course, like our other homepage sections, we've got the capability of configuring some shapes for the background here. Great. In our demo, we follow up the featured product section with another featured product section. So I'll go ahead and quickly configure this one with a different layout here. We're going to swap the image and the description. Actually, we're going to have them show up in their default position here, just so that they're staggered on the home page. And there we have our second featured product configured for the homepage. A great way of showing a product right on the homepage and having the ability to add to the cart, proceed to the checkout right from the mini cart. So an expedited flow here on the homepage using the featured product section. And here we've got 2 set up. The next section that we have in the Phoenix demo is indeed the newsletter section. As we go to add that, by default, of course, we've got the newsletter sign up form appearing here. But we have a number of other options that we can configure to add some style to this section. Let's start by adding an image for one. Which we see is showing up to the left or to the right of the sign up form. And we can go ahead and change that position if we like. We have the ability of changing the background of this section all on its own. Look something like that. We can enable the first and last name fields to appear here above the email field. Some options for text alignment, and the ability to put in our own heading and a rich text editor here for whatever text we would like to display. The next section here that we'll take a look at is one of my favorites, very flexible, the text columns with images section. So we'll go ahead and add it. We see it looks fairly generic whenever we load up the regular placeholder content, but we can go through and add these content blocks. Each one of these content blocks is its own column, and that column can contain an image, a heading, some text, a button link, and they can be added in any number of combinations. We've got different styles for the images themselves, as you can see here. Got, of course, the ability to add the shapes to the background, and then this global setting for the section where we would control the pre-heading and the heading. So what I'm going to do is quickly go through and configure this to look just like the Phoenix demo, but then we'll take a look at how the other demos are using this same section, but in a little bit of a different way. Let's take a look. All right, so we have configured this section here. We've narrowed it down to just 3 columns, and we've configured an image for each one, a heading, a section of text. Just to show you the difference in the heading size here, here's a larger heading over on replanting. And we changed the text alignment here to center. We're leaving the button out of it for now, but if there was a button, it would look a little something like this. With the same styling that we have on the other similar links. Border can be added to each of the features just like this. We could have just the line down the middle, but we'll leave it with no border for now. And this is how this section appears in the other demos, just so you see the flexibility of this section. It maybe gets you thinking of ways that you can use this section to show off your services and to show off your products on your own homepage. The next section we'll take a look at here is one of the great new features in the Artisan theme, and that's this customizable contact form. So we'll go ahead and add it here. As you see, we've got the option of doing the wide display or the narrow display, where the image would just appear here in half of the width of the screen versus it occupying the full width of the screen, as you see here. So we'll go ahead and select something for this. Which is looking good already. As we scroll down, we've got these global settings, which include the heading, and then this text section here where you can input whatever information you would like to convey that would go along with this contact form. So let's add in some of our own text. Great. We've got the ability of showing our social media icons. So just while we're on that topic, you can configure these social media icons in the general theme settings here. Just down at the bottom, which will have the icons appear depending on which URLs you have filled in. Great, we have our shapes design feature to add shapes to the background of this section. But then we've got the form area here, and this is where the magic happens. So first, we can add a logo in this position if we would like, appearing at the top of the form, which we will leave out for now. But then the form can be configured using a sequence of content blocks. And here are the content blocks that you can select, but all of the information that the shopper enters into this form will carry through in the email that you receive. And what you would want to do is style this form in a way that reflects the product or the service that your shopper would be inquiring about. So the form that automatically appears here on the right has pretty much every one of these content blocks enabled already. So we'll pick and choose which ones we'll have in our form on our demo. But first we've got this text field, which is being used to capture the name. And then this placeholder text here will appear whenever we are active on the field. We have the ability to make this field required, which will also add and remove that star beside the label of the field. So we're doing something similar here. We've got an email content block has been added, which you'll see right here. And the same activity happens with this placeholder text. Following that, we have a text area, which has not been made required, but it's here that you can input a message of your choice, and you can change the title that would appear above that text field. We have a date picker, where you can change the label that appears here, but the rest of the date picker is built in right here. We've got a drop down, and it's here in these options where you would input the various options that appear whenever you interact with this drop down, and you have the ability of changing that title. The radio buttons that appear below it are similar in the sense that we've got separate settings here for each of the options, and you can change the title. With radio buttons, you can choose only one of the 3 options at a time, unlike our checkboxes, which are configured in the same way. You add the options to each of those option settings, but you can select multiple at once. And all of that information will be conveyed in the email that you receive through this contact form. Finally, this content block gives you the ability to add some more text right here within the form, and it's a rich text editor, so you can add links within that text as well if you'd like. And that covers all of the various content blocks that you can add to this configurable contact form. A great new flagship feature for the Artisan theme, and what I'm going to do is quickly configure it to look just like the Phoenix demo, and after that show you some examples of how this appears on our other demos. Fantastic. So with all of those sections configured, we have one section left to finish off our Phoenix demo, and that is a couple of blog posts. So by default, it's showing a 3-up layout here, but we're going to change that to just 2 blog posts instead. We can change up this pre-heading and heading if we'd like, or remove them entirely. Select the blog from our Shopify content, just like that. Then a few options of what information is showing about the blog. So if we had some tags on our blog, we could display them with this setting. We've got the author that can be enabled and disabled, along with the date, if we'd like to keep the information lean underneath the blog featured image. If there were comments on these articles, we would have the ability to show the comment count here. And we have the ability of showing the blog excerpts, which are the short portions that are input on the blog themselves, which would show up right here. If you wanted a small portion of text to appear, you could have it added to this excerpt field on the blog post to have it appear below the blog post on the homepage. Additionally, we can go ahead and configure our shapes for the background of this section, just like all of our other homepage sections. Now for the other common element that will appear on all of the pages of the site, not just the homepage, the footer. So here we are in the footer settings. We have the ability of adding some copyright text, as you see here, which gets added within the copyright area. We've got the ability of enabling and disabling the theme designer credits here. And if I had a payment gateway enabled for this demonstration, the payment icons would appear here in the lower area of this footer, as you can see in the demo. Here, we can configure various content blocks for the footer. Using content blocks, we can click and drag to rearrange the columns of the footer. So what we'll do is use the logo and contact section here. Take a look at the settings and be sure to bring in our Phoenix logo to that area. As you can see, we can change the alignment, and we've got some settings for contact information here. Next, we have a content block that is featuring a menu. We're going to switch out this menu for one with a few more links in it. Looking good. This title content block, we can input a heading and some text into this rich text editor here for whatever content we like. And we have the ability of adding an empty column here to add spacing between these columns. Here is a content block not in the Phoenix demo, but you've got the ability of requesting an email address from your shoppers here again with another rich text editor that goes along with this field to gather more information. The ability of enabling and disabling first and last name fields as well for that block. We're going to remove this one and rearrange some of these blocks, add another menu to have this footer look just like our Phoenix demo. And there we have it. All of the sections are configured in the same way that our Phoenix demo is. So you can see all of the various sections that are available on the home page so that you can create the layout that you prefer, tell the story of your service or of your product right here on the home page. You may notice some differences in the spacing between the demonstration we're working on and the actual Phoenix demo, and I can tell you why, and you can use this tool as well. We have an additional section here that we can add, and that's this divider section. As you see, as we add it, it doesn't contain any content, but it gives us the ability of changing the amount of spacing wherever this divider is placed. So as you see right now, it's changing the spacing between that blog section and the footer, but depending on where we place the divider in the sequence of sections that we've configured, we can control how much spacing appears between these various sections. So right now I have it between our featured collection and this area of text right above it. Well, I'm going to go ahead and increase that there to see that spacing increase or decrease. So I'm quickly going to go through and add these divider sections at about 30 pixels underneath a couple of the sections so that we've got a perfect match to our Phoenix demo. And of course, whenever you're finished configuring all of the sections for your own homepage, take a look to see how's the spacing, how does the page breathe, would you like to build some more space between some of these sections? If you do, go ahead and add one of these dividers and crank up the padding or the spacing setting here and enjoy the extra breathing room between these sections. Now, as you can see in the sequence of sections that I have on the left here, I have strategically added a couple of dividers to build in some breathing room between these various sections. So that's all it takes to make a homepage that looks just like our Phoenix demo, but there are indeed a couple of special sections that are not included or not enabled for the Phoenix demo that are enabled for our other demos, so let's take a look at those right now. One of the new sections we're really excited about with the Artisan theme is our new service table here, which appears just like this, a feature for comparing and contrasting various products and services, just like the placeholder content here would imply. We'll go ahead and add this to our demo so we can take a quick look at the settings that are available to us here. But better yet, let's take a look at a completed, configured version of this feature in our Victoria demo. So as you see, we have our pre-heading and our heading configured here. And then let's just take a look at this first leftmost table, where we have the ability of adding our heading, which shows up here, and some color settings to change the text and background colors of that heading. Right here, where you select the product, you will be controlling where this link directs. That appears at the bottom of the table. Here you will configure the image that appears within this table, followed by our feature list text settings. And so what you would do is add the text that you would like to appear in each of the features, in each one of these rich text editors here. And finally, control the text that would appear at the bottom for the link that directs to the product page associated with the product or service that you're displaying in this table. So similarly, the other two tables are configured in the same way, using an image, a number of features here entered into these rich text editors. And they're showing in this 3 per row layout. So I'm hoping you're already thinking of some interesting ways that you can use this pricing table on your own homepage. Another homepage section that we have included in one of our demos, but not in the Phoenix demo that we were using for our setup demonstration, would be this logo list, which you can see is already configured. We've got the ability of adding a pre-heading and a heading just like our other sections, the ability of configuring the background shapes, which have been done here with some gray hexagons that you can see in the background. Then the logos themselves have these settings, the image setting, and then the ability to have that image link to a destination in your site or outside of your site. And over to our Barcelona demo, where we can take a look at the testimonials homepage section, where we can again configure a pre-heading and a heading. We've got the ability to enable and disable images showing alongside each of the testimonials. The crop shape of the image themselves can be changed here. We've got a few various creative options. Of course, the ability to configure the shapes in the background of this section. Then let's take a look at the individual content blocks of the testimonial section. Here we have where the image is configured, followed by the text portion here. So just a couple of settings within each testimonial content block. But as you see, we've got a number of testimonials configured here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But we have only 3 appearing in our slider at a time. And they will, in a sense, animate through the various testimonials to show off all of the content blocks that you have configured for this section. Of course, this is 3 when we're seeing this on desktop, but as you collapse it down to mobile, we will see them one at a time appearing in this slideshow style. And that just about covers it. So we've taken a look at all of the sections that are at your disposal to configure your own Artisan homepage. Of course, just like I did, you can take inspiration from any of our 3 demo shops as far as the sequence of sections that you'll configure for your homepage, or even the configurations of the sections themselves, whether you've got images appearing on the left or on the right, how you can stagger the layouts of various similar sections. So you can use all of these ideas to customize your homepage into a welcoming landing spot that really shines a light on the product or service that you're offering. If you hit any snags or you had any questions about setting up your homepage with the Artisan theme, head on over to the Help Center, help.outofthesandbox.com, where you will find a plethora of resources to help you out. My name is Sean Campbell. Thank you for joining me for this video guide.